Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Goldfish Report. I'm your host and researcher, Louisa. Today is Saturday, March 27th, 2021. This is Goldfish Report number 681. This is an impromptu dragon update with our returning friend, Benjamin Fulford. Thanks for joining us, Benjamin.
Thanks for having me on.
Of course, my co-host, Steve. Thanks for being here with me, Steve.
Yeah, glad to be here on the fly.
And of course, the ambassador from the Red Dragon family, who's got some info to share with everybody. Welcome back, Ambassador.
Good day, everyone.
Why don't you start, Ambassador, since it was your, you asked to call this little group together today?
Yeah, it seems to me that the cabal is in the last string is trying to create a world war situation. And they have lost some submarines. And, they are blocking the roads that is doing that is hurting
Suez
financially too. And supposedly Israel was having shot or used a mine on an Iranian oil vessel, which made this oil come into the beach, and then the Iranians were shooting at an Israeli boat. So it seems to me that we are heading into a war. At the same time, China and Russia is launching the new financial system of moving funds without Western cabal interference.
That's very interesting news. Benjamin, did you have any comment on that?
It fits. I mean, but if you look at the blocking of the Suez Canal, okay, what this does is cuts off Europe from Asia by the ocean. It does not affect the Americans. So if you look at who would benefit, it would be someone based in the US. It's the most likely candidate for this operation. Also, the fact that the boat made the shape of up yours when they navigated a crude drawing finger. That's a very Western type of thing to do. In fact, North American type of thing to do. So.
Okay. Well, we also see that it's also bringing to light, and there's a lot of chatter on the social media regarding what Evergreen represented. Does anyone want to talk about that?
It's a corporation.
Right. Well, it was also Hillary Clinton's code name, apparently that the Secret Service gave her. And also what they're doing is exposing what was really happening on these shipping containers to some degree. And I mean, they were shipping product, of course, but they weren't only shipping product, right, Benjamin?
I've heard stories that there were children being transported on the ship, but obviously we'd like to see that. We'd like to see special forces go in there and find a container with this sort of stuff in it. Mm-hmm. Because there's a lot of disinformation they blow up with this stuff too, So I'm not sure. The jury's out on that one as far as I'm concerned.
Okay. So Ambassador, this seems a little bit strange. So there's moves and counter moves. There's definitely this, chessboard going on, a chess game. So the Strait of Gibraltar, though, is blocked. So they have the Mediterranean blocked on both ends. So what's the move going on there? What are they anticipating?
They're anticipating that the Russians will enter, and they try to stop them from entering into the areas. And even here in Norway, they've been putting up extra surveillance by the north down the whole side to see if warships are coming from the Northern Fleet.
Okay, and who is this an attack on Iran? Is that what's imminent here? Is that what you think?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
I don't know. I mean, I think it may be a bigger move. I think the Russians might make a move on Western Europe, and I think that the British might actually help them with that, because they're facing the same basically enemies during World War II, remember World War II, Britain and Russia were like rivals for centuries in the Great Game, in places like Afghanistan. But then they were brought together as allies by the common enemy of the Nazis, and they have that same common enemy now. And I think that underneath the surface, they're working together, and that this is going to mean that Russia and not the United States will be in charge of European security. The other thing to remember is that all this pedophilia stuff, has been forensically traced to a lot of it to NATO headquarters in Belgium.
Wouldn't surprise me. And also the thing is this way that you have also the defense agreements pact between Turkey, Russia, and Iran signed on also these days. So
yeah,
so it's a lot of things that's happening, and it's desperation, and also now the new financial system is launching at the same time, and the Russians and the Chinese are pushing for it because they don't want the Western controllers to control the wiring of funds anymore, and so that's happening as we're speaking too.
Okay.
We have we have meetings of a family that's taking place. Should be finished in 10 days. We have the M1 and his people finalizing things inside of 14 days. So we have a lot of things happening right now. So, we just pray and that we will come out victorious now. And like I said, we have what it takes to satisfy, the International Bank of Settlements. Just, let's see what they have to offer.
Well, what kind of counter moves are you expecting to happen if Iran is attacked? What can we expect, Benjamin? Do you want to?
All right. First of all, let's forget about Iran for a second. All right, now, in my view, Iran and Israel work for the same people. Okay, and these are the people who are trying to start this Gog-Magog war with like a G7 versus Shanghai Cooperation Organization. So anytime you see a move where they're trying to use Iran to get everybody to kill each other, you can point your finger straight at the Zionists and these, Messianic wackos right away. So don't be distracted by that. That's a red herring, and they're not going to succeed in starting World War III because nobody who's sane, and that includes, fortunately, the leaders of the big militaries, wants to destroy the planet. So what I'm understanding is that right now, a proposal has been put by the Knights of Malta, the P3 Freemasons, and MI6. So this would be like the two big Western power blocks, if you think historically, the British Empire and the Roman Catholic Church, which each have about 1.5 billion people. And they're putting a proposal together. We're waiting for a reply from the BIS, but the idea is to have some kind of new structure that would be 50-50 controlled east and west, and each side would have a veto. And then we could start financing like $1 trillion projects to make this planet a paradise on Earth, which is what it's meant to be.
Well, Ambassador.
So one second. Where does Russia fit into this? Are they their own self-interest?
Russia, the agreement was Russia would be given control of security of Europe, Western Europe.
Well, yeah, okay. Well, as you said, you mentioned before, I saw reports of tank movements from Russian tank movements towards the Polish border, and of course, Poland was where World War II basically started. It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, but this time I'm pretty sure the Americans are not gonna go there and fight. They don't want to fight Russia. They're still hoping to get Russia to join them against China. So you're not going to see the Americans defending in Europe, in which case Europe basically has only one choice, which is to surrender, and try to get the best
to Russia.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ambassador, do you want to comment on that or want to add anything to that?
Let's hope so.
So is this a counter move against the starting of the new financial system? Is that what you're saying, Ambassador?
Yeah, it is too.
So it's the
start of a new not old world order, but the new world order.
Or New Age, if you prefer.
Yeah.
Yeah, can you use a different phraseology there, a different phrase? 'Cause
Yeah,
Yeah, that's right.
That's
It's too
really doesn't
negatively.
sound
I
good.
know, I know. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like the word toilet used to mean like putting on makeup, but over the years the meaning became
That's
different.
right.
So
Exactly.
Definitely. Okay. So, but let me just screen share this and let me get your comment, because there is in fact evidence that there's something nefarious going on these container ships. And as you can see here in this video, this is one of these ships being opened, one of these, I'm sorry, containers being opened. And clearly this is meant for people. This is compressed air equipped. There's seats. So I don't have to play the whole thing, but that obviously gives you some idea. We don't really know. I mean, it's conjecture to speculate that that's for human trafficking, but there's also other people who are giving testimony about what's happening on these container ships. Do you think that the grounding of this ship was intentional in some way? I'm hearing that it was their system was hacked.
look, like I say, it sailed around in the shape of up yours, right? New York Post has a famous drawing.
Graphic,
Yeah.
Graphic. So it was obviously remotely hijacked and then used to block that. Now, I don't have inside details, but I do know this, that when the Asians first said, to the Western financial system controllers, not the first time, but let's just talk. We'll skip the Nixon assassination. That was his first big one after World War II. But we'll go up to 9/11, where they're supposed to hand back the gold on September 12th, 2001, and we all know what happened on September 11th. And then again in March 11th, 2011, they didn't have money, so they hit Japan with a nuclear weapon and tsunami, and forced them to hand over their money, and that got them more time. And each time, and then in February last year, once again, they were saying, hey, hand over the money. And they hit Wuhan with an electromagnetic weapon. And then they started this whole pandemic BS, saying we'll freeze world airline traffic. We'll impose lockdowns, everything. We'll do everything in our power to stop you from, taking away control of the financial system. And that's falling apart. You can be sure they're going to do something else. So now they're threatening to block world trade. But again, they can only block the oceans. They're not going to be able to block rail traffic across Eurasia. So this, I don't see how many cards they got left to play.
Yeah. Benjamin, do you have any updates to what's happening with the Three Gorges Dam? There's a lot of information that could be bursting.
Well, that would be one of their obvious targets, Yeah. That's why at the end of the day, a deal is going to have to be reached, but in the meantime, there's going to be some pretty high stakes, bluffing and threats going on, but it works both ways. Like if they do the Three Gorges Dam, you could be damn sure the island of La Palma will blow in the Atlantic, and that'll hit the East Coast with 100-meter tsunami.
Yeah.
So you can't do that.
Right.
It's like they don't have a monopoly on mass murder terror. It's a two-way street, and that's why that weapon ultimately is not going to work.
Right.
This is what you're referring to here, Benjamin. This is the picture. Some said it was a phallus, but it could also look like what you're saying.
And up yours,
proverbial bird, yeah. And so they are talking about this is right. It says it's not a phallus. Watergate was also in that delta. The vessel is definitely playing gatekeeper of the water right now for sure. But here's another one that I think you might find interesting, where this Q has always talked about, red castle, green castle. And so here is the flag for the Gibraltar, from what I understand, and it has a key on it. And so this is the key, of course, that they're saying the key, the castle lock from the Q post. And I have to bring that in just because, it's a coincidence that happens to be part of a Q post, by the way.
And Gibraltar's linked to the Knights Templar as well.
Right. So this is possibly what's going on, like what you're saying, and they're locking them in and they're stopping. But I do think that this is a really huge type of red pill with regard to the uh, alleged human trafficking that's going on the ships. Here's somebody who works on the ship, and this is what he has to say about it.
Overlooked aspects of human trafficking is the method of transportation. How are they moving these people all around the world? I believe it's through container ships. I'm currently standing on a container ship with roughly 10,000 containers. Maybe 5 to 10% of the cargo that comes in and out of the United States is scanned, x-rayed, and looked at by CBP. Any one of these containers you see on this ship could have about 75 people in it. We know, I've talked to CBP agents before, they have found containers with advanced life support systems, food and supplies for these people to live in these containers for a substantial amount of time while they move from port to port. I believe it's a huge problem. I honestly believe, I have seen with my own eyes, I have seen families, I have seen children, we've seen stowaways, and it really makes you wonder, is this how they're moving along? Right here.
Okay, so that's someone's testimony. He's actually on the ship there. So this obviously is bringing a lot of attention to this possible route for this, heinous act of human trafficking. So I think.
Can I just ask
open this up, please do, Steve.
Yeah, Ambassador. What would you like to see happen? Obviously, the Zionists are trying. It's a last push to start a war to prevent certain actions now. And what would you personally like to see happen here?
I personally like to see them being smacked on the fingers quite hard.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? It's time for them to be awakened. And also the same thing goes for the warmongers in Europe and the North Atlantic Terrorist Organization, NATO. So I hope that we don't want any war. We don't want any more killings. Is enough with what they're doing.
Correct.
And I think that people needs to raise up and call for an end of NATO once and for all.
Yeah.
Right.
And also, I mean,